All right, red light's on. So we're going to play Gridiron Dice and Drives. This is the start of week 4 of my 1960 Continental Football League. The New York Tycoons travel to Raleigh, so this will be Raleigh's second straight home game. They ended up in a tie at the end of last week. New York got a taste of their own medicine in losing. Finally, they had not given up a point all year, and last week they were outdone. Another team kicked one more field goal than they did. Walker, who is their only point scorer on the season, and still to this day, still the only guy that scored points, he went 1 of 3 in field goals in that game. So had he made his other 2 field goals, New York would be undefeated. All right, so let's take a look at these two teams. Remember, very simple. The first thing you want to do before as you write down your score sheet is get your edges. So offense, New York's offense is a 0. Raleigh's defense is a 1. That gives Raleigh the edge, which means you write down New York defense edge. So New York is unfortunately the defense has the edge. Raleigh is a 0 against New York's strong defense, and Raleigh also is facing the defensive edge. Again, I talked about this, I don't know how many videos ago when I launched this league after creating these teams. This is a defensive league. There are more teams with a strong defense than there are strong offense. So there's going to be a lot of low-scoring defensive games. New York Tycoons, Paul at head coach is a deficit, -1, but they've got 2 brilliant coordinators in George +1 and Andrews +1. Their special teams coach is a 0. This team has a brilliant ball security, a +2. That partially was achieved because of the quality of the offensive coordinator. When you're creating teams, you create your coach, you create your coaches, and then you roll your secondary ratings. And their takeaway, thanks to that brilliant defensive coordinator, is a +2. Their special teams coach, Payne, didn't help them. They have a field goal -1, a return game of 0, a punt of 0, and a coverage of -1. New York really is a solid football team, but they do suffer a few deficits on special teams. On the flip side, the Raleigh Rebels, again, a defensive team, they have a -2 ball security, so we can see why their offense is weak because they tend to turn the ball over. Their takeaway, by the way, they had a turnover in the last game that ultimately cost them. And their takeaway, though, on defense is strong. Their field goal unit is fantastic. Their return team is fantastic. Their punter is horrible. Their coverage is average. So again, their head coach is also a deficit. Allen, he's a -1. Their offensive coordinator is average. Their DC is strong. He is a +1. And their special teams coordinator is a 0. Both of them, New York scores running touchdowns on a 3+. Raleigh tends to be a passing team. They score run touchdowns only on a 5 or 6 on the fast eye. And that kind of brings you up to speed. Again, New York right now is 2-1, having only lost last week to Muncie. Muncie came in and had a gut check on their 3rd straight road game and beat New York. Raleigh is on their 2nd straight home game, and they're trying to get their first win of the year. They are 0-1-1. So let's go ahead and roll the die. New York, being the visitor, gets the call, the coin toss. We're going to call odd, and it is even. Raleigh against this defense. Well, Raleigh will take the ball. I mean, they have nothing to lose to take the ball. Let's check the weather real quick. -1 for Raleigh's location. So again, you can give teams a weather bonus if you want. And so I gave all my teams a weather bonus. Raleigh is a -1, meaning they generally have better weather than average. But again, 5, they're in 4, high wind. So we're going to have punt trouble and field goal trouble. So high wind, this will be another game. This will be the 3rd game of the year in which high winds have negatively impact the performance of the kicking teams. So quick note, injuries impact your offensive efficiency or your defensive efficiency on the matrix scoring charts. Weather impacts kicking only or injury prone. So remember, if weather only affects field goals and punting and potential injuries, injuries affect your edges, affect your efficiency on your offense or defense. So that should give everybody an idea again of how those things work. All right, so the kickoff for Raleigh as New York kicks off. Doug Walker, their star DB / place kicker, kicks off. And the return man, Stallings, is going to return it out to the 0. So what I did was I made, Dell references the use of a chart. So I made a football field, and again, you can assume that the big swath between the 30s would be +0 territory. Once you're inside the 30, you're in +1 territory. Once you're inside the 15, you're in hot shot territory to score, and there's an end zone. If you're basically inside your 30, between your 30 and your 20, you're at -1. If you're inside your own 10, you're at -2. So most of the time, teams will find themselves between the 30s at the +0. We are right now trying to devise a sheet that'll have this on it with a ticker, and so you don't have to track every snap. You can tick the clock down. The Canadian game has more possessions. The GD, which is this base game, so Canadian is 24 possession games. The base game is 22 possession games. The Ivy League is sitting at 18 possession games. Okay, and there's a reason. You say, why is Ivy League shorter? Well, because the scoring charts in the Ivy League are actually truncated. So Ivy League is going to be, how do I say this? The college game is going to be a little more swingy. You're going to see this roll have more weight, if that makes sense, because the scoring charts are going to be narrower, which means the roll is going to have more weight, right? And therefore, we may see more swing results. So we want the games to be a little shorter. So we do want there to be kind of a difference. And again, remember, we are assuming of the beginning simulation of the 1956 Ivy League. So, of course, these weren't juggernaut teams scoring 50, 60 points a game, right? Okay, so we're ready to play now. We know we're in the +0 zone, and we know we're using the defensive matrix. Raleigh may the best team win. Raleigh wants to get their first victory of the year. New York wants to push out to a 3-1 team. Well, let's find out. It's going to be +2. +2 is going to be no man's land 5. 5 on no man's land, very simply, is pinning punt. They're going to pin them deep. So that means New York's going to start -1. So we're going to get a pinning punt. And New York is going to be at -1. Now, you don't need this. You can just track it on a score sheet like I've been doing. But for those who want to use your score sheet solely for turnovers and touchdowns, things like that, there you have it. All right, so New York's got further to go. So to help you visualize what the +1, +2, -1, you can imagine now they're probably sitting around their 20, they might be sitting around their 19, their 20, something like that. All right, here we go. It's going to be 0, so we're going to get a punt from New York. Now this punt will just flip the field, and you now turn it around. Raleigh here at about the 29, 32, whatever, right? Raleigh at +0. Raleigh goes to work. It's going to be -1. -1 is a punt. Again, that -1 just means they punt it down and they get a return back. And again, New York going this way, so we're always going up the field. New York is in the +0 zone. This will be the 4th possession of the first quarter. And we're going to be looking at -1, a punt. And it's going to be Raleigh with a final possession. Again, that punt just flips the field, still at +0 for each team. And Raleigh's final drive of the first quarter in a 0-0 slugfest. Remember, both teams with great defenses. It's going to be +2. +2 is no man's land 1. It's going to be a punt. And so it's just a straight punt for Raleigh. 0-0 after the first quarter. Fans of this new league are very aware of the quality of offense and the quality of defense. And again, New York starts in the +0 zone. It's going to be -3. New York's going to struggle with a turnover. Their turnover is +2. Remember, New York's got brilliant ball security. Despite being a defensive team, they are at least protecting the ball. +2, +1 makes it a plus. So you add them up. +2, +1 is +3. We're going to look on our chart. Remember, my charts in my book happen to be backwards. So this has been, I have a proof version. so I just have to flip it in my head. 1 is a turnover, so it will be a fumble lost. However, Raleigh only gets the ball in the plus zone. So this was a fumble at the line of scrimmage. So let's say it was around midfield. Raleigh doesn't really get a bonus, but Raleigh takes over right there. And after a turnover, and here we go. And it's going to be -1. It's going to be a punt. Again, this will flip the field with a return, and New York hovering at the +1 potential. Right now, man, this has been everything you'd expect. Defense, a punt. Raleigh with the ball at 0 field position is going to get +4. +4 is field goal range. Field goal range, their field goal kicker is brilliant. He's a +2. So we look at the quality of the field goal kicker, +2. I rolled a 2. It's made. So he makes it. And guess what? Hometown fans on their feet as Raleigh's place kicker, Wilbert, who was the star last week against, excuse me, not the star, I'm thinking of the other team, Muncie. Wilbert gets the kick here. He got 2 kicks last week. Unfortunately, their opponent also scored 2 field goals late and ended in a tie. But Wilbert does what he did last week, and he gives his team late in the second quarter the early lead. Let's do the kick return. Oh, big kick return. So that sucker is fielded at around the 6, and he's gone off to the races. He gets down inside the 25, inside the 30, you know, might be around the 25, 27, whatever. +1, New York threatening with a brilliant kick return by Jepson. Here we go. What does New York do? Do they squander this brilliant opportunity? Nope. +4, baby. Field goal range 1. I think they might miss, though. Doug Walker, who had been a hero the first 2 weeks with his place kick victories, -1. Wait a second. I rolled a +4, +5. Oh, red zone, excuse me. But one of the red zone's worse. Goal line stand. Forget it. Goal line stand. And Raleigh's fans are on their feet as they stuff. New York goes for it. You can imagine they had driven down to 4th and 1. They might even been around the 10 and said, we're going for it. We're coming into halftime. We want a touchdown. We got to get our first TD of the year. And the Raleigh defense behind Putnam, Grant, and Bosley shut it down. And Raleigh fans are on their feet. But guess what, folks? They start at -1. Yeah, so they make the stop, but they start at -1 field position. You know what? There is not a -2 FP, is there? Oh my God, folks. It just dawned on me. There is no -2. So this would be... So this -1 would be around your own goal line. So there is no, ignore that. There is no -2. So they are inside their own 10 or so. Then most of the field is going to be normal. Then we're going to get inside the 30, and then we're going to get inside the 15. Right? Okay, I just realized that there is no -2. I don't think I've ever seen a -2, but it just hit me. Yeah, there is no -2. So, whoops, let's fix that. Okay, Raleigh gets the ball, though, at -1. And that's going to make a long field against a brilliant New York defense. But they did make a goal line stand. Fantastic work. And here we go. They're going to go +2. They're going to get no man's land. Oh, wait, no, +2, +1. Excuse me. Punt. I keep forgetting I'm at -1. So one thing about writing it down, I'm reminded of it. I got to remember to look at this. -1. So it's going to be a punt. And that's going to end the half, folks. New York 0. As they chose to go for it down inside the red zone and got stuffed. And Raleigh's fans are enjoying a halftime break with Wilbert having given them the 3-point lead. And Doug Walker, a little peeved that his coach chose to give the ball to Jolly on 4th and short when they could have tied the game. All right, New York gets the ball to start the second half. Let's go ahead and find out what that kick return is. Oh, it's an injury. New York suffering. Oh, it's a bad injury, too. We got to go all the way over to page 20. By the way, Dell has shifted those. He's put all the injury information on the same page. So, 6. 6 is Commissioner's Just Weather. Depleted. Oh, shite. All right, we already know from page 30's description. Remember, he's put all this stuff together now, so he's fixed that. Depleted means, oh my God, both sides are undermanned. Applied shorthanded to both. Holy cow, New York is pounded. New York injury. Depleted. That's going to be a -1 offense and a +1 offense for Raleigh. Raleigh gets a huge deal. -1 kickoff return injury. New York starts deep in their own territory. And what would that mean? That would mean a player, a very important player that plays both ways. Let's say Walker probably is a fullback or an end. He plays DB on defense, and he's their place kicker. That depleted means a guy like Walker who contributes mightily on both sides of the ball just got drilled and he's out. So that's how they ended up with both sides hurt in one roll. And they're at -1 defensive edge. Now, what does that mean when you are depleted on offense? -1 to this. They're already at -1, so -2 to this roll. And the fans in Raleigh never want to cheer a guy being carted off the field, but they are, they're smiling to each other in the stands. What a brilliant drive, though. What a gut check for the quarterback house as he goes to work. 5 -2 is 3. -2 is +1. They're going to get out enough to punt, creating a 0 territory. Despite the setback, they're going to drive enough to get the punt into 0 territory. Now Raleigh goes to work. Raleigh -4 is a turnover. Raleigh turns over. Again, they're a -2 ball security. +2, that's going to be 0. Damn. 0, 5. Oh, they avoided it and they ended up punting the ball. So you can imagine it looked like it was going to get picked off. So poor New York, I get to add 1 to that roll. -4 +1 because of the depleted defense is -3. Productive -3 is a turnover /BP. That happens to be a 5, which is going to put us on the turnover chart, which is 0. I have to roll this again on the 0. It's going to be 3. 3 is turnover, FP0, so it was a fumble. Fumble lost, and New York with a +0 field position, but remember, a depleted offense. So they get the ball in the midfield. It's going to be -2, -3, turnover BP for them. It is a bad punt. Their bad punt. Their punter is a 0. Their coverage is -1. Their return is +1. So that's going to be even. And we're going to roll again on bad punt. Even 2 is punt. So they just end up with a punt. Raleigh at +0. So the punt again just changes right to the edge of the +1 territory. Raleigh gets to add 1 to their offense against the depleted defense. They're going to go 4. They're going to go -2. Punt. New York, man, gut check. They're getting the job done despite injuries. New York gets the ball back, -1 on this roll. It's going to be -1. They're going to have to punt, and that's going to end the quarter. Folks, huge injury, and I mean huge, as it depletes both sides of New York's ball team in one kickoff. Now, again, it could be multiple guys hurt on a kickoff, right? You could have lost a blocker and a kick returner, which affected both offense and defense, right? All right, so Raleigh, starting the fourth quarter, fans on their feet. At Raleigh, roughly between their 30 and their 40. And they get a +1 here. So that's going to be a +1. +1 is a punt. 6 is irrelevant. Raleigh is holding on 3-0, folks. And New York way behind the 8 ball on a negative roll. So they're going to be 0, punt. Damn, Raleigh, this is like a heavyweight bout. You're wondering which guy's going to finally catch it on the chin, right? Damn. This is +2. Raleigh gets a bonus for depleted defense, +3. It's going to be productive drive. Productive drive of 5. Their field goal kicker is a 2. I think they're going to score another touchdown. Productive drive 2 is 5. Made a long field goal. Holy cow, they are now up 6-0. New York on the kick return. It's going to be out to 0 territory. New York hurting down now 6-0 as Raleigh fans celebrate. That pretty much puts this game away. Oh, +4, -1 for a depleted offense is +3. Productive drive for them. 6, but their place kicker... Oh, wait, we have high wins, too. Their place kicker is -1. Productive drive, -1. 6 was the roll. Take 1 away for the weather. Missed the long field goal. Long field goal fails. Oh, Walker has missed 4 kicks in the last 2 games. And I'm telling you, there are fans all over the New York territory who have traveled here and listening on the radio who are beginning to think that Walker won't be the place kicker very long at this rate. So he missed a long field goal. It hurts even more because it gives the ball, right? I mean, again, this is a standardization. Normally, it just means they would have the ball on this side of the field. So it's a little hard to see that. It's not that close. But holy cow, Raleigh with a +1 field position, +1 against a depleted defense. Raleigh may score a touchdown. 1, 2, 3. PD. Productive drive 6. Again, weather pushes it to a 5, but they have a +2 place kicker. So +2 is 6. -1 for the weather makes it a long field goal. Good. So they end up, because of the winds in their face, they're going to make a long field goal. It is 9-0. Raleigh fans celebrate. They're going to get their first win of the year against what appeared to be a very tough opponent. Well, it is a tough opponent. That defense is hard to score on. And New York with a kickoff. Can they get a good one? They do not. They're in normal territory. Final drive of the game for a beat-up defense. They're going to get -1 for a depleted offense. 0 is a punt. Time expires. They hope maybe to get the ball back, but no go. Raleigh scores 2 field goals in the 4th. And a missed long field goal due to weather for New York's Doug Walker. Folks, New York gets a taste of their own medicine. Shutout 9-0. New York now 2-2. Raleigh is 1-1. And there we have it, folks. There is another game of Gridiron right there. And fantastic. And again, defensive edges mean low scoring, and you're going to have to settle for long field goals and field goal chances. Today I demonstrated, because Dell just mentions this in the book, that to put the marker on the thing. It's like, yeah, but there's no thing to mark, so I thought I'll show you. You draw it up, and all that does is just give you a sense of ball movement. And home offense is always going up, so if you're at -1, you're inside your own 10 or 15, whatever. Then between the 35s or between the 25s, whatever is the main portion of the field, and then of course you get down close, then you get inside the 5, whatever, right? Just like that. So you can use something like this. It's just so easy to write +2, +1, 0, -1 when the ball changes the field position. That something like this is great visually to kind of teach the game, but you really don't need any visual aids for Gridiron, but I thought I would show how that works. All right, everybody, so I did play a game this morning. I tutorialized a game on my schedule this morning. Unfortunately, when I hit record, I did not hit it hard enough and did not know it wasn't recording. Portsmouth had a comeback to tie the game 6-6 against Raleigh. Raleigh now, second week in a row at home. Give the fans something to cheer about this time as they beat what appears to be one of the better teams in the league, New York. And Raleigh is now 1-1. New York is 2-2. And we have got one hell of a season started here. Canton at Allentown next. Canton is a sentimental favorite because of their heroic first game of the year where they were beat up and depleted and they found a way to win. But Canton is defeated. They are unfortunately beat up and depleted, and they get to make a injury check before this game to see if they improve. But because they've been on the road, actually they were at home last week, so that's going to make it easier for them to recover from injury. They were at home. they're on the road this week, but last week they were home. So we're going to make an injury recovery check for this road game against Allentown and see if Canton can at least recover something. Canton is depleted, and now so is New York. So on this score sheet, I note at the bottom, health, right at the end of the game. Health at the end of the game. New York is depleted. Raleigh is healthy, right? So that's, I know now next week when I get ready to play the next game, I know New York is depleted. I know Canton is depleted. It's written on the score sheets, and then I can just adjust that as they make recoveries. And there you have it, folks. That is another game in Grid Zone. Canton against Allentown in week 4, and then we also have a non-league game between Sacramento and Muncie. Sacramento is an offensive powerhouse, and Columbus, a non-league game. Columbus' second visit to our league. They beat Canton 21-7 in week 3. Columbus, who's the worst rated team, thumped a beat-up Canton. But they're going to go on the road to play Portsmouth. So it's a real good chance for Portsmouth to get another victory. So Canton and Allentown. Allentown's looking good right now. They're 2-0, I believe. Sacramento, it's the first time we're going to see the offensive juggernaut of Sacramento visit our league against Muncie, who's finally got a victory. And then Columbus and Portsmouth are the final game of week 4. And this has been absolutely a joy, and just a joy. I know it seems probably, but you get your head around the fact that we're playing old school football, and I love the fact that the game is never apologetic for simulating old school football, truly old era football. It's wonderful. Again, there aren't many, and I hate to say it, there aren't many tabletop games that dedicate themselves to this era of football, or to this style of football, right? And so I think it fills a wonderful niche. And there you have it. Done. Everybody have a great day. A great weekend. Bye-bye.